Hola, my peoples, and welcome to the monologues on Life with Mona. So this week we are talking about leadership. I have often found myself in a place of leadership by mistake. I think there's very few times where I've put up my hand and said, yes, I'm going to take up this role. It's always by mistake. The very first one that happened, this was when I was a teenager. We were in church. We were part of a youth group in church growing up. So we had just formed a drama group that we really, really enjoyed and really, really liked. And we were kind of like collecting people together, to be part of this drama group. And then we got a new pastor in from the States. He was called Chip Block. Now, Chip came in and there was no youth group, but there was a drama group. And he wanted to have a youth group. So he came to our drama meeting, which is where all the youth people were. And he said, we're going to have a meeting. He was inviting us for a meeting and for lunch at East, where he used to teach. And he said, come on Saturday at this time, and we're going to have a meeting. So Saturday, we all rock up there. Of course, this is African timing. So he said 11. I was probably one of the first ones there, maybe 11, 11:15. By noon, I think there was like 3 people. And Chip was like, do you think people are going to show up? And we said, yeah, they'll come. Don't worry. By like 2 o'clock, we'll all be here. So he's a bit flabbergasted. But now he's called the meeting. Some of us are here. So, of course, he doesn't have a choice. He's going to wait. So by around 12:30, 1 o'clock, we had a majority of guys there. So Chip starts this meeting. And as he's starting the meeting, we all do introductions. And then he starts talking about leadership and being leaders. And we're all kind of like looking at each other like, leadership? We said, okay, fine. Maybe he wants leaders for the drama group. He keeps talking. He keeps going on. And we realize as this guy is talking that this is actually not a drama meeting. He's trying to form a youth group, and so he wants leaders for the youth group. So we're all just like, okay, we're in the wrong place. So who's going to be the first one to tell him that he's actually talking to the wrong people? We're not leaders. We are actors. So we're all kind of like nudging each other, like you tell him, you tell him, you tell him. So finally someone puts up their hand and says, excuse me. And he says, yes. And the person says, when are the auditions? So he looks like, auditions for leadership? And the guy, no, for the play. Because we thought we were coming here for auditions for a play. So when are the auditions? So Chip keeps quiet and he says, no, this is a youth leadership meeting. So we are all whispering. He says, what's wrong? And he said, this guy says, most of us here think we're coming to act. We don't know that we're coming for a leadership meeting. So Chip is like, no. That can't be true. That can't be right. I am sure there's people here who've come to be part of the youth leadership. So he starts asking one by one, why are you here? Drama. Some random guy says, I thought there was free food, So we go around the table. Nobody is there for leadership. So Chip keeps quiet. Then he says, okay, since you're here and I'm here and there is lunch, this is what we'll do. You guys give me an hour of your time. Let me see if I can convince you to be leaders. And then if you last the hour, I will give you lunch. We look at each other. We're like, okay. We've come all the way from, this is in Buruburu. Some of us have taken 3 matatus to get there. It's a Saturday, so we think, okay, fine. We'll stay for the free lunch and let's see what this guy has to say. So he pitches the leadership to us, and at the end, some of us are like, okay, fine, we'll try it. It sounds like fun. And what we liked about it was that he was giving us a chance to be heard. He was saying, you guys will form a group. We will have a name. We will have events. We'll do activities. We'll perform in church. We'll have dances. So we thought, oh, okay, that sounds like fun. And can drama be a part of it? He says, absolutely, drama can be a part of it. And so the youth group was formed. It was called Frontrunners. And that group survived it's still running to date from that original group of people who didn't know that that's what they were going for. And we became the leadership of the youth group. That was my first instance on being a leader. And for me, I always say a large part of my life was informed in those days when we were front runners and when we had a dance group and when we were being heard and listened to in church. And the church I went to was called International Christian Center. And I think it was one of the very few churches to first start allowing us to break out and do the things we wanted to do, which was impacting us and therefore impacting other youth, like dancing, for instance, acting and all these other activities that we had. So fast forward, I think I've always taken that with me, whether it's in my writing, in my dancing, in my acting, many different things. I've taken that with me, or just in my life, how I lead my life. And partly because of that, and also partly because of just being an ombogo, and we always say, us guys don't know how to keep quiet. You're invited for a meeting, which you didn't even want to go for. You're there. You sit, you listen to people, and you think, no, these guys are not getting it. You put up, excuse me, So I think what we should be doing is A, B, C, D, instead of what you've proposed as na, 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 na. And you keep talking. And half the time I'm saying, Mona, shut up. I don't want a role. I don't want a responsibility. And your mouth is just, and you talk, right? You end up in a leadership position, which you had no intention of doing. This happened to me in my neighborhood where I now live, where I ended up being a representative in the neighborhood for 3 years. Let me tell you guys, I grew a really good respect for the government of Kenya. I was leading we're about 400 homes, and I think I was in charge of like 170. In charge really being you're serving them. So whatever the estate people need, the residents need, it is your role to ensure that the estate is running properly, and the systems were like a government. We had Nyumba Kumi reps, cluster reps, directors. So it's like a government. The directors are like now the president. The Nyumba Kumi reps are probably like now the MCAs. I'm sure they'll kill me when they hear this. And then I was a cluster rep, which is probably like now maybe the governors. Wow. And aside from Nyumba Kumi, and then became a cluster rep. Let me tell you, those 3 years was so hard. You wake up in the morning, you're looking at your phone for WhatsApp. The first thing you check is WhatsApp because you know something has happened overnight. You're looking at it like this because there's like 700 messages. You take a breath and you open. What's the problem today? It started off with a dog pooping in someone's compound. Whose dog is this? You need to leash your dogs. These dogs have become a. Then the conversation goes. Even me last week, I was chased. This dog is barking at, this dog is... We talk about that dog for 700 messages. Then, because you are asleep, okay? I mean, you don't live on WhatsApp. You are asleep. I'm a writer. I write at night. So maybe by the time you're waking up, it's 9, 10. Where are our leaders? How come they're not saying anything? We are just leading ourselves. These people are useless. Hiya. You read all that, now you start responding. This is Monday. On Tuesday, there's no water. We were supposed to get water. Where is the water? We were promised water. This neighborhood was built on na. Now we start talking about water. There's a drought. We need to prepare. We knew there was a drought. Why didn't we prepare? Wah! Water. You respond. The next day, internet is down. Who are these providers that you brought for us here? How come the internet is always down? You guys need to step up. Okay. I know I'm acting like my neighborhood is full of negative people. It's not really that. It's just that crisis upon crisis upon crisis seemed to be the nature of the day because we were still forming our systems and building the neighborhood. So, of course, these problems would be there. And me, like an idiot, had accepted the role which I was pushed to become a cluster rep. And in that time, again, I go back to my formative years as a leader in this youth group and even how I was brought up by my mom and my dad. When there's a problem, step up. Don't be part of the problem, be a part of the solution. And I think that's what I always did. But the things I learned from my few years in leadership of this little community, God bless you, government of Kenya, your job is not easy, of this little community was, number one, you have to have a 360-degree view of everything as a leader. And this I got from one of my friends who was a director when I was a cluster rep. And one of these times, and I mean, there were bigger things that would happen in the neighborhood, you know, like burglaries or infrastructure issues. So there's big things that happened as well. And when these big things were happening, you really had to step up. You know, so there was a time when there was a huge crisis that was going on, and I was just all over the place. And he said to me, the directors want something else. You know, they're thinking of, we need to fix this in a certain way. The Nyumba Kumi reps want something else because they're all thinking of their own streets. The residents want something else because they want this thing resolved from the point of the problem. And he said to me, the thing is, you cannot think as a director, you can't think as a Nyumba Kumi rep, you can't think as a resident. The unique position you're in is that you're in the middle. So you can see all these three different things and you can pull them together and make a decision based on that. And so that's what I did. Listening to everybody, the ones who are making sense, the ones who you don't think are making sense, the ones who are loud, the ones who are quiet. You listen to everybody. And once you got all the information from your point of view, which is like on the mountaintop, you can make that decision. So that's one of the crucial things I learned, having the 360-degree view and making a decision based on all that, regardless almost of what everybody is screaming at you to do because they don't have the full picture you do. Another thing I learned was you have to listen when people talk. No matter how wrong you think they are, listen. But the thing is now, it doesn't mean that you'll please them all, but listen. People want to feel they've been listened to. As you're reading all those WhatsApp messages and thinking, you guys are nuts, you still have to have an open mind and listen. When someone calls you at 3 a.m., yeah, it's one of the foolish ones, I'd pick up my phone at 3 a.m., but I'd pick up because I'm like, maybe there's a real problem. And sometimes there's a real problem. And sometimes there wasn't. Somebody was just very upset about something that happened at the gate when they were coming in, or, But you listen. You learn to listen. And when you learn to listen, people learn to trust you, whether or not you do what they say. So those were my lessons that I learned from leadership in that role, which I will never do again. Ever. But it was a growing lesson for me. It was something that has made me who I am. And thick skin. Having a thick skin. Woo! Yeah. That one I learned. Having a thick skin. Especially when you know who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. So that's the things that I took. Those are the things that I took away from this role. So today and this week, we're talking about leadership. And I'm going to be talking to George Nuthu, who is a life coach specializing in leadership. And to just ask him to break down for us, different things. What is a good leader? Are we all leaders? Are some called to it? To some, it's always an accident and they, you don't want to be like me, I'm not a leader, but you always find yourself there. How do we navigate around it? And for me, one of the most important things also is self-leadership, because I strongly believe if you cannot lead yourself, then you cannot lead others. So self-leadership, leadership in your own home, in your own house, in your own space, before you lead other people. So that's what we want to find out this week. That's what we want to explore and discuss. And if you're watching and you're a leader, or you aspire to leadership, or you don't think you're a leader, but you're always there somehow, this is going to be for you. And even if you just want to direct your life a lot better than you've directed it before, join us for this conversation. So thank you very much for watching the MonaLogues on Life with Mona, and let's see you as we discuss this topic. Mwah.